Welcome back. It's Kovacs Report, and it's time for Amazing Spider-Man, issue 14. I can't believe 14 issues have flown by. Actually, I can believe 14 issues have flown by because they've been so unmemorable, I haven't noticed the passage of time. Anyway, before we get into this review, I've promised myself I'm going to try and be a lot more charitable when I review Amazing Spider-Man. As you know, it's my favourite character, and I've been angry, let's just say, and fed up, disillusioned with how badly this book has been treated for a number of years. It's just not getting any better. But I'm going to try and find some good in all the bad. I'm going to do my best. So stick with me. Read the book beforehand. If you don't want it spoiled, like the video if you can, and give that little subscribe button a little click. I'd really, really appreciate it. So, quick catch up. There are 2 issues of Spider-Man each month. Why? Well, Marvel wants to make double the money, and also wants to go, hey, this book is doing really well. Look at the sales numbers. All your criticism as fans is wrong. We are right. We're going to continue down this path whether you like it or not. And that's exactly what's happening. That is exactly what is happening here. So, quick catch up on the story. Hellgate, an arbitrary villain created by Joe Kelly some while ago, was been thrown in the mix here with not with any really backstory at all, really. I mean, I can't connect to him. I don't really see what his motivations are. He's just another cosmic being who's come that wants to challenge an Ultimate Warrior and fight Spidey, and sent him packing to space after he defeated Spidey because Spidey wasn't worthy enough. Now, that's what's happening. That's where we are. That's why we have one book of Peter Parker Spider-Man in space, who's become kind of a spider guardian of the galaxy. After a little adventure, he's taking some refugee aliens that were kidnapped and experimented on back to their homes, and he's having a little jolly adventure up in space. And he's also training with their captor, who's now his captor, okay, to get tougher and stronger and come back and beat Hellgate down. Now, back on Earth, with the absence of Peter Parker and Spider-Man, Norman Osborn has taken up the mantle of Spider-Man. And guess what? Ben Reilly is playing Peter Parker. So there we have it. The story you never asked for. And this is me being charitable. Now, last issue, the rest of the Spiders turned up. Okay, and told Norman that you can't be Spider-Man anymore. You're a bad man. How dare you? Leave the spidering to us. Okay, and this is all told through terrible dialogue. Now, honestly, I'm just going to say it once or twice throughout this video. This dialogue, it's like it's written for some Gen Z TikTok fan. It really is bad. Like all these little buzzwords like cute and stuff like that, and girl bossing and all this other absolute trite. It's beyond me. This is not the state of Spider-Man, is it? Is it really? Does this really celebrate the legacy of what came before? I don't know. But there are some good points in this book. Needless to say, it's written by Joe Kelly with art by Ed McGuinness and Todd Nauck. So, here are the little bit of good. Now, Norman Osborn, he's gone home to his expensive apartment or home. Okay, you can see the spider suit hanging over the chair there, and he's drinking some 30-year-old aged scotch, and he's reflecting on the fact of how much of a failure that he is. Not just, as Norman Osborn, but as a father, as Spider-Man, as basically everything he's ever done, really. Okay, and this is really interesting, and it's important because it shows some kind of character development with Norman Osborn. And that's the interesting part of this book, is that you are getting a more reflective Norman Osborn. You're finding that he's starting to learn from being Spider-Man just what Spider-Man sacrificed, just how hard it was to be Spider-Man. Okay, and that's in itself an interesting story, but it is lost with the meandering plot, arbitrary characters thrown in, and so much exposition laden down with this Gen Z TikTok language. I don't get it, Joe Kelly. You're better than this. So there we go. He is sitting there and he decides that it's over. No longer will he be Spider-Man. Spider-Man no more. But it's not just over for him. Now we jump to Ben Reilly and his missus, Janine. She's got this special mask, and she can, transform into these other things. Now that's something new, something I may have missed from a previous arc. I don't know, but she can do it. And they're having this little cutesy, hey hun chat while they're fighting. Again, like it's written for 14-year-olds who are waiting outside, I don't know, a record store to get the latest Taylor Swift record. It's beyond me. And what we can also see with Ben Reilly, and again, the interesting part of it is that having taken the mantle of Peter Parker, he's realizing that it's really, really bloody difficult, and it's affecting his relationship with Janine. Okay, it's showing that it's not an easy job. Okay, and that there is a respect that's growing with Norman and Ben Reilly of what Peter does as Peter and what Peter does as Spider-Man. That's the interesting part. Now we discover, because Ben Reilly is also going to Peter Parker's job, he has a meeting with his boss. But of course, Janine's a little bit jealous because she's a hot boss, right? And they're going for a cute little lunch break or a cute little coffee, because that's what it says. A quick change and one cute brunch spot later. Why does it have to be cute? Who are you writing this for? Okay, who is this being written for? I don't know. Anyway, again, an interesting part of this book is that we find out that his boss isn't the big, strong girl boss that you have seen in previous issues. She has another side. Okay, she's a mother and she's having problems with her son, and she wants to talk to Peter about it. Now, this is something that she wouldn't normally do, but it might be affecting him directly. So she wants to get it off her chest and talk to Peter. Now, before she can talk about her son and the fact she's been taking so much time off to deal with her son, Norman Osborn turns up to have a little chittle chat with Peter Parker, Ben Reilly. Now, she jumps up and she's like, hey, get away from my employee, get the hell out of here. And she starts attacking him, telling him he's a terrible human being and everything else. And Ben Reilly's not impressed either. He doesn't want to talk to Norman, but Norman wants a private chat and he tries to explain, look, this is personal, not business. But she is having none of it. She is girl bossing to the moon on this one. But before she can lay the fatal, verbal blow, her phone goes. And we find out her son's been expelled from school. So something pretty bad is going on there. I've got a feeling I know who her son is, but I'm not going to reveal it just yet. I just dawned on me who he probably is. And if it is, that charitability is probably going to just completely dissipate. Anyway, he says to Ben Reilly while she's engaged on the phone, he says, my car is outside. We need privacy. And he says, I have a croffle coming, Norm. That's a croissant waffle, not missing it. Again, what's this dialogue? Why? He says, it's over, Ben. We're done playing pretend. So he's revealing to Ben Reilly that he knows he's not Peter Parker, which obviously means, holy crap, you're fake Spider-Man. So they both know each other is masquerading here. Now we jump back to this little moment where she's snapping her fingers at Norman Osborn, and we get that, again, that interesting part of Norman Osborn, where he's saying, listen, I overheard what was going on the phone. I'm a single parent. I'm a father too, a terrible one. I've made mistakes. I understand what you're going through. I wish I'd done things differently. We're getting somewhere with Norman, but before anything can happen, kaboom or baboom in this case, and the cute brunch spot explodes, and a modified Goblin Slayer turns up, coming for Norman. Of course, coming for Norman. Now we jump back to the Aunt May story. Now this is supposed to be the slice of life part, which grounds most, Spider-Man stories. It's much about his family outside of the suit as it is his adventures in the suit. And we learn that Aunt May, has been trying to get hold of Peter. And because Peter isn't Peter, he's been ignoring her and shutting all the people that Peter would love out of his life. And he meets this tasty blonde at the door and thinks, she thinks maybe this is why Peter's not been, talking to me. Anyway, they exchange words. And Janine, she's obviously wearing a mask to hide who she is. So she'll take the letter. And she says, listen, Peter does love you. He talks about you all the time. And she places this letter on a pile of other letters. So she's been around before. She's been trying very hard to talk to Peter. And again, this is nice. Okay. And, it does compound something that is very, very much part of the Spider-Man storylines. And I like it. But again, it's laden down with all the other junk. Speaking of junk, Norman, who earlier on decided that there's no more Spider-Man, right? It's over, okay, and motivated enough to go and talk to Ben Reilly and tell him no more, still has the suit on, which was hanging up over the chair. So why has he done that? He's contradicted himself. So that moment that we had earlier on of him reflecting, realizing that, maybe he shouldn't be doing this. Maybe he is a terrible person and a failure. Just been thrown out the door. So all that emotion was being earned is now lost. It's bizarre. Now the robot talks to Peter's boss and says, who are you? What's your association with Norman? She goes, I hate him. So, he leaves her alone pretty much. And then the shield comes in from that another arbitrary character, which Joe Kelly has been trying to force on us sometimes during these 14 issues. He just turns up randomly every time there's a battle, and it's boring. He's a crap character. No one cares about. Oh, wow, he's got shield. This is Kintsugi, who used to be Captain Kintsugi, but apparently he realized that was too much of a mouthful for people. So he's turned up because he has some kind of infatuation with Spider-Man and wants to be the next superhero, right? And I guess he looks up to Peter Parker and he throws his shield at this Goblin Slayer and it does nothing. But guess what? It's okay because Norman's done a quick change and he's coming through and he's smashing the robot down and he's having a fight. And again, this is the thing that's annoying is we get these nice moments. He says, for a moment, I stopped trying to figure out who's behind this repurposed Spider Slayer as I'm swept up in a realization. I've never worn this suit in the light of day. Until now, my tenure as Spider-Man has been conducted strictly in the dark. It's different. The sun falls brighter. I feel exposed, vulnerable, seen. Okay. And he realizes that, Peter does an admirable job as Spider-Man. He understands what it's like to maybe be a hero for a moment. Now, before we really compound on that, okay, we jump back to Pete's old school friend he's kind of failing at work, right? He's been creating some kind of mushrooms that can communicate and everything else. Okay. And it needs to tie into whatever Pete is doing. What Pete is doing is working, which is why the boss is favoring him. Okay. Now you got to remember this character here is an old school friend of Peter, which has been dragged out of Joe Kelly's imagination to try and have something that resonates here because it's connected to his past, which these issues are supposed to sort of flash back to occasionally, which they've been doing and not really adding much to it. Anyway, we got another girl boss here, Astrid, who makes him feel like an absolute piece of shit and tells him the truth that he's failing and Peter's going to take his job or the promotion that's coming up. Okay, again, like I say, Joe Kelly is stirring a new villain here who's going to be involved in some kind of mushroom aesthetic. And then we jump back to Norman Osborn fighting this Goblin Slayer. No explanation. You are a monster. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you. That's why he wants Norman. But Peter's in there and he starts fighting Peter. But he's saying, listen, my fight's not with you. My fight is with Norman Osborn. Let us do what we got to do and we'll go our separate ways. Now, Captain Kasagi here, whatever his name is with the shield, okay, he's still trying to be a hero. And again, just adds nothing. Why is this character here? Like, really? Why is he even here? If you took those panels out, it wouldn't make any difference. But again, we're back to the good part of the book. He says, this is Norman Osborn. He says, the words were true. Sorry, this is confusing, honestly. He says, they cut through my usual armor exposure. He's talking about the fact that this Spider Slayer has said that he is an evil incarnate, a murderer, a manipulator. He's insane. You have suffered as much as any of us at his hand. And Norman realizes that's actually true. He says the words were true because he's changed now. Remember, he's a good boy. They cut through my usual armor. Exposure threatens to consume me. For the first time since I put on this costume, I feel like I understand a sliver of the courage it required of Peter day after day after day. He is truly amazing. See what Joe Kelly did there? Yeah, amazing. Anyway, Captain Kasagi with his shield throws it to Norman, who sort of disables this robot enough to get away and is screaming, no, get the cameras back up. Someone fix this. For some apparent reason. I think it's revealed in a bit. And he's like, no, sir, that would be crazy. We're all a little crazy, aren't we? I mean, again, this dialogue, I don't get it. And Norman's having a chat with Captain Kasagi here about his costume and his shield during this battle. Anyway, back to this. Crazy, right? It's crazy to believe that one person can make a difference in a world that seems inured to the efforts of good men and women. I am not a good man. But here, now, in his skin, beneath the light of day, I feel like one. It is terrifying, and I love it. So it's almost like he's understanding, like I say, even more about being a hero, and also the reward of being a hero. And he's realizing that he actually probably feels better doing something heroic than he did when he was a villain. That's what I'm getting. Anyway, he thanks Captain Kintsugi here, gives him his shield back. And he says, I should probably tell you to go home. You're a child. This is dangerous. But you know what? I won't. It's all cool. And the crowd applaud both of them for taking down the Goblin Slayer. And we jump back and we discover who's been controlling this Goblin Slayer. Well, we get, again, that slippery monster escapes justice again. And then these sort of hooded minions say, why did you engage Spider-Man, Electo? This is your fault. That machine was our final option. We don't have the funds to keep going. Shut up. Let me think. Think less. When the wrong things cloud your mind. Who is this person in the shadows? Who is the people in the cloaks? I don't know. He says, you people see a failure. I see the first iteration of a device that will absolutely make Osborn suffer. Your experiment is a success, my friends. You just need a little more expertise. And it's the Hobgoblin. He's back. Yes, he's back after the first arc where his villainous act was tampering with some soda pop he was making to control the minds of Manhattans, to make them go a bit angry and start fighting each other. But he's back to take Norman Osborn down, and we still don't know why. Is it one industrialist versus another industrialist? I don't know. Why has he got this absolute hate boner for Norman Osborn? I don't know. Why? Because it hasn't been explained in the previous 14 issues. But he's back, and he's with these people, and he's with Electo, and they are working with some spider slayers to take Norman down. Again, why? Nobody knows. It's just being charitable. It's just not up to standard. Okay, we've got the inkling of a really interesting story here, right? Inside the mind of Norman Osborn. And it is wasted by cheap theatrics, growing a new villain, girl bossing, terrible dialogue, super exposition, and nothing else. There's nothing else. There really, really isn't. And God knows how this story is going to end. I really don't know. And I'm really not excited to find out. But there we go. Again, those are my thoughts, and I did try my best not to be angry. I tried my best not to go over the top. It just isn't good enough. It really, really isn't. I cannot wait for this run to end, okay? I really cannot wait for it to end. We need some fresh new blood that love Spider-Man, love the history, love the legacy, and have the ability to move it into the future in the right direction. This certainly isn't it. I'm really sorry, Joe Kelly. I'm really, really sorry. I love you. You're a great writer, but this isn't working, and it's time for a change. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm sure some of you will be very upset about what I've said, and that's fine. This is just my opinion, guys. Take it or leave it. It's no problem at all. Like I always say when I go off on one of these sort of angry rants, my opinion shouldn't affect yours at the end of the day. If you're enjoying the book, that's great. That is great. You shouldn't not like it because I don't, and I shouldn't like it because you do. It's just different people. But this, for me, after reading Spider-Man, for over 40 years, it's just making me sad. It's making me sad, and I'm not looking forward to it every issue. And that in itself is a problem. So there we go. Amazing Spider-Man number 14. Joe Kelly, McGuinness, and Nauck. Let me know what you think. Take care. See you soon. Like the video if you can, and hit subscribe.